Hello everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough. Welcome to yet another hobby hangout. Today we are going to be, let's see. Sorry, I'm just seeing my camera is acting a little odd there. Going to be painting up some Bonesplitterz if we continue work building a list for Vault Wars, which is coming up in May, so I'm very excited about that. Yeah, so I had my first game with my buddy Rob. What is it? Was it yesterday? No, it was Saturday. Saturday, had to be Saturday. So we had a great time. Went out there and just absolutely had a blast. I originally built a Kragnos list because all's fair in war. Give me one sec here. Let me get my paint next to me. I was just in the mood to hobby, so I just jumped right in. Wasn't even ready. Okay. Alright, here we go. So we're going to be painting up, let's see, some of the straps and stuff. Basically what I've been doing is just putting a nice layer of contrast down, and then I'm going to go back and hit it all with like flesh tones and all that kind of stuff later on, with the exception of the boar faces, which I'll get to in just a sec. So, let's see, what else do we need? Cygor, what are you? Wildwood, yes, we can use you. I see Captain Rel is in there. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Hope things are going well. And while we're all just kind of filing in, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my game that I had. So, initially, the list that I was going to bring to Vault Wars, the event we talked about, I think it was the last time I was live, I was going to center around Kragnos and basically just putting big blocks of Savage Boys and Boar Riders up my opponent's nose, while Kragnos gives them a nice charge bonus and all this kind of stuff. Well, I learned quite a bit in this game. We had weird lists. Hey, Hans. As we were both just kind of trying to figure out, so it's me and my buddy Robbie. He is new to the game, has never been to an event, and me, who is not the most competitive player, but of course I'm trying to earn a specific trophy. And realistically, I think Bonesplitterz are awesome. Like, it got me so excited to paint and play them because, if you don't know, they have two specifically interesting parts of an allegiance ability. One of them, I'm just going to get a bunch of browns out because we're working on furs and straps and all that kind of stuff right now. One of those abilities is the Bonesplitterz Wah, which gives them a 4-up ward save once per game, which is incredible. And let's see, the other one being, let me just get some paints. I'm just grabbing literally anything in this section. That's how we're going to mix this up. I'm assuming that they've collected hides from multiple creatures over the years, which I think is pretty fair. Let's see. What are you? Rat skin. Actually, might try the rat skin flesh. I have always done Blugman's Glow for these guys, but I want to try something different. So, let's see, my list. Man, I already deleted it. So, just really quickly, what happened was halfway through the game, I'm actually in a text group with Tyler Emerson, who's running the event in Vault Wars. Halfway through the game, it was made known to me that for the purposes of the Underdog Award, you couldn't have a God tier character in your list. Meaning, my Kragnos list, while legal, wouldn't get me the award I was after. So, oh crap, okay. Totally fine. It's in the spirit of the idea and the event. I'm totally on with it. No complaints. But it made me think, like, okay, what am I going to do if I can't go Craggy, right? What's a Special K list without Special K himself? And yeah, so I've just been playing around with it. There's actually a great breakdown. I shared it on, I think it was my last Bonesplitterz stream, kind of breaking down one guy online, his thought process regarding the Bonesplitterz. And really what it came down to is lean big into Icebone because they have a faction rule, and this is a blanket rule, doesn't have to be within range of a hero or anything. that if they roll a 6 to wound, then the damage goes through as mortal wounds rather than normal. It's not in addition to the attack sequence ends, but whatever the damage profile of the weapon is, it's that many mortal wounds, which means if you hit someone with a big stabba, it's a bunch of mortal wounds, not just one. So there's some real benefits there. My opponent, local friend Rob, who I mentioned in today's lore video, I played this specific game as Drakfoot, which because I had Kragnos and I was like, oh yeah, this will be awesome. Drakfoot ignores ward saves. Okay, which is just a really cool ability. But with having so few Ren models and multi-damage things, it's a very specific kind of army. And I generally think the Mortal Wound one would be more effective, but if you've had success with Drakfoot, I would love to hear about it. The only one that I have absolutely no interest in is the Bone Grins, is that what they are? The ones who have archers for battle line. They didn't interest me in the last version of the book. They don't interest me now. Not tempted. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy. It was just more about trying out the faction, seeing kind of what their strengths are, kind of getting a sense for, what are they actually good at. I gotta say, I'm really happy with Boar Boys. I think that they are terrific. I was less interested in More Boys. So, Boar Boys are the basic savage orcs on Boarback, and More Boys are sort of the elite on foot. And I thought the More Boys were going to contribute more to the fight than they did. But unfortunately, they just didn't have a lot of punch. I'm not sure why. They got into combat even on the charge with all of their extra attacks, because another thing about Bonesplitterz is when they're in groups of 5 or more, they have exploding 6s, so like one attack becomes 2, which really does help their math. But I just didn't see it as much with them. That's the usefulness of that. Their number of attacks was a little left to be desired, As far as once I figured out that Kragnos was not going to help me achieve my dreams, I was like, okay, he's out. I went onto that site, I think I shared it last time, the Plastic Craig site, where he did a full breakdown of Bonesplitterz and basically what he taken to events and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Copy paste. Mainly because I already have most of the models, I just need to figure out a rogue idol. That was kind of his replacement. But yeah, so it's a lot of boars. It's going in heavy with Icebone. It's fishing for a triumph and keeping the drops low so that you can hopefully grab first turn. And the whole idea is just throw so many wounds in your opponent's face. In that first round, they're whipping out, all different kinds of mortal wounds because they got bonus attacks on the charge as well as exploding 6s. Good evening, all. How'd the game go? It went well. We actually had to call it at the top of 3 just because it was just running a bit too long for me. I think I was in a pretty good position, but Kragnos was about to die. I don't know. It could have gone a lot of ways. There was still time in the game for my buddy Rob to pull it out. I will say that. I feel like I had a really strong start. We played Feral Foray, in case anyone's curious, which is the one where there's 6 objectives. Starting on the second battle round, you can start burning your opponents, but not your own. In turn 1, between Kragnos and the pigs running up and a unit of more boys on one flank, I had most of his objectives and then didn't let him go until we stopped playing. But he did come over. He took out my Wargok Prophet, who sadly never got a chance to do his stare ability, which is a real bummer. I wanted to see that in action. But yeah, overall, I'd say he did pretty good. Pretty good. The Prophet, that is, he did pretty good. Rob was still my opponent. Rob was, we're trying to basically spend the next couple months leading up to the event, so it's in May, by really just picking a list and then just rigorous practice with it. We're not going there to win. We just want to make sure that we don't slow play people by accident, as well as, just make sure everybody has a good time. That's all. So, because, if you know you're not going to do the win, you certainly don't want to spoil somebody else's experience. So, just trying to be conscious of that. Not that I think anyone would accuse us of slow play, but there's just so many rules and places to have to pull from when it comes to Soul Blight at the moment, I feel. I don't know if that's just my perception. I was watching, Rob is new to the game, and it's important. It's a very valuable perspective to get, because a lot of us have been in the hobby for many, many years. We've seen complicated rules come and go, but when you have someone brand new, it's like, how is this for them, right? A fresh page, someone, new perspective. And it looked to me like there's just a lot of referencing that happens with legions. I don't know. Can someone confirm or deny that? Like, in terms of, like, this ability triggers at this particular phase, and that's different than this other resurrection ability, which happens at a different time, even though they seem real similar. It seemed like there was a lot of that. Like I said, I never played the army, I don't know. But yeah, I hesitate to say that I won. I mean, certainly if we were in a real tournament environment, we would have... time would have been called on the game at the bottom of 2, and I would have won from there, I suppose, if we're talking tournament stuff, which... I don't take any shame in. Like that counts. That's a win just as much as anything else. As long as it wasn't intentional and you're not slow playing people, you take the W. Let's see what the questions. Oh, Jacob, I'm sorry, I didn't see your question. What's your take on the state of Gloomspite? I don't have a strong opinion. I don't know enough about the army. I was going to get into Gloomspite when I wasn't sure if I was going to get these Bonesplitterz back. So I was kind of ready to have a squig army. But, unfortunately, I'm just not sure. I know it's a lot of models to paint. How about that? And that does create a barrier to entry for many, many hobbyists. But I feel like they've always had really great box sets. Like holiday bundles, that kind of thing. They're a great annual box set faction just because of how many models are in the range and how colorful and lively they all are. As far as gameplay goes, I'm going to be honest, I don't know a single thing. In general, and also specifically about this. But, I will at least point you in a direction as someone who probably does. AOS Coach is another YouTuber. I'm sure he has lots of coverage. He is a big Gloomspite Gits fan. And we'll see if things just snowball really, really well with the Bonesplitterz, they might get some allies in the form of some Gits, which would be fun. That'd be a fun little painting project. When I found out that I couldn't have Kragnos and still earn the Underdog Award, well, that's not officially announced, but I'm just talking about, my own stuff. If there's FAQs or questions about that, see somebody else, not me. I'm an attendee. But when I figured that stuff out, I was like, man, maybe I could do a loon boss on Cave Squig. Would that be a cool? I don't know. My mind was just full of ideas. I'm like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool, actually. I kind of want to do that anyway. What do you mean with slow playing? Yeah, so this is a thing that people are sometimes accused of at events. Say you have an army that's very grindy, and by grindy I mean like you don't do a lot of damage, but you can take a lot of wounds, right? You get turn 1, you go rush onto the board, and then you, as a player, start playing really, really slowly, taking your precious time and moving units, rolling dice like you've got 10,000 hours. And what you're doing is you get yourself onto the objectives and you slow play, meaning you purposefully act like you're playing very slow to run up the clock, because when the clock goes up, you put your dice down and you count up points. Well, you know, as the grindy army player, that you have all the points, and so you intentionally make the game last forever so that you'll basically time out the clock. Your opponent will not have had time to get you off the objectives, and it's a really crappy way to beat somebody. It can be done with almost any army. You just got to bring enough stuff to, I don't know, let you act like you're trying your hardest to speed up, even though you're not. And it's just a matter of basically gaming the event, which is no fun. It's no fun to make someone stand there and watch you roll a billion dice individually, move models for an hour and a half, that kind of thing. So yes, it's a form of cheating where you're not technically breaking the rules, I'll put it that way, but you are breaking the spirit of the events / nature of the game. The point should be, we're here to play games, so trying to get all the way to the full game experience, yeah. I would have a mental breakdown, I think, if an opponent tried to do that. I've never, I mean, when you see people talk about it online, a lot of times folks will make it seem like somebody went to an event with this intention. I think a lot of times it can happen accidentally, and so I wouldn't ever accuse anybody of it very hastily. You know what I mean? Like, if you won 5 Adepticon events or whatever, that kind of level of events, and you are playing that slow, I'm like, okay, you're doing this. However, most of the time it's just, this game is complicated. There's lots of things to remember, and so yeah, I never want that to be anyone's first assumption with me, like, oh man, Doug's just, he got all them naked orcs onto the objectives and now he's just kind of running out the clock. It's like, no. I need to have time to at least do like 4 stupid bad tactical decisions before anyone starts thinking that stuff. Just so that way everyone can walk away and be like, man, that guy didn't seem to know a whole lot. Plus, what an unfun way to win a game. Winning by lunch break. What if it's 2 players that played that method? I mean, in the greater span of things, it doesn't really matter, because they're both rocking the same clock when it comes to round times. I suppose at that point it's the first person to call the TO over and complain, which again, don't do that to your TOs. Like, don't be the douche who slow plays to be able to do that. I don't know. But it's handled on a case-by-case basis, and every TO is going to handle that differently. Also, I've been to a lot of different events in a lot of different places. I've never seen anybody like intentionally do it. It's almost always just, hey, I got a lot of social anxiety and so I'm a little frazzled. I'm running a little late. And there's one time in my life I've had to be like, hey, do you mind if we like kind of speed this up a bit? Like, And they were just immediately like, oh, I'm so sorry, so sorry. That's why I don't typically talk about it much. Heck yeah, already loving the color variation. Yeah, I wanted to mix these guys up because the last Boar Riders I did were actually Boar Boy Maniacs. These are normal Boar Boys. And I wanted some different colors, so most of these guys are actually painted with Plaguebearer Flesh, which is my favorite contrast paint for orc skin. Because the minute you darken it, it just looks amazing. And so, anyway, so that's what we're up to. The game went really well. I felt, happy with how it went from the perspective of we're not there to like, practice our list for taking the event. We're trying to get better at it and get a better understanding of our armies and make sure that we can give our opponents a fun game. And so from that perspective, it was an absolute success. I am happy to report that pigs are my favorite, which is great because they're just fun looking. And yeah. I'm taking Fire Slayers to Adepticon. Am I crazy? Well, is it the new book? I don't know. I don't think you're crazy. I mean, I think they are a great army. I know not everyone is as hot on them as I am, but I think they're going to do just fine. If nothing else, I do feel like the Fire Slayers ask a very important question. It's just, can you deal with X? And then X is that many bodies. Can you deal with this many attacks between, they're totally not Overwatch with their axes or any other of the myriad abilities that let them throw them whenever they please. Let's see, give me one sec, I'll be back on the chat. Just need to get this last little bit of color in before the rat skin dries. There we go. Oh, dang it, I missed one spot. Let's see. Thong-wearing orcs versus Speedo dwarves. Heck yeah. Hendar. Hey, Doug. It's been a while since I caught one of your live shows. Loved your showing on Warhammer Weekly last week. Oh, thank you so much. I was very self-conscious about that because I felt like I wasn't talking enough. And then in the comments, someone accused me of talking over everyone, or not me specifically, but talked about us as hosts talking over each other. And you're like, okay, I guess I was just super wrong. Let's see. Okay. So what's next? Next is going to be... do straps and furs and stuff. Smata84, I would love to hear your experience at A-Kon with these guys. Viridian Forge, hey! All the piggies looking mighty fine. Well, thank you. I'm trying. And at this point, basically just running some different browns of contrast paint over the straps. I'm going to darken them with a wash and then build the color back up with more interesting paints. I just need them basically blocked out for right now. Oh no, I got some brown on his cheeks. That's not a good place for that. That'll give some wrong impressions. Like I said, we're gonna build it up later. Back up to green. Although I feel like if any faction in the Mortal Realms is going to crap themselves as they go into battle triumphantly, it's going to be the Bonesplitterz. Just arrived. What color is the boar? There's a bunch of different ones. I have Gorgrunta fur, Griffhound gray. I think one of them is Space Wolves gray. Two of them are. Is it the Basilicum? Whatever that one is. Let's see, let me just get these straps all done. Boom. Cool. Already discuss. Did I already discuss what do we think is going to be at Adepticon? In a competitive sense, I mean, I have no clue. Oh, you mean at the preview events? I'm sorry. I was like, I don't know, man. Lots of armies in the AOS events there. No, I haven't talked about it yet. I certainly have no information. Can tell you that for sure. I don't know. For me, I'll be honest. The only thing that would interest me right now for AOS is some Path of Glory supplements. It's just, I'm having so much fun with it, and it's just gotten nothing but dry because all we have is the core rulebook stuff. It's like, come on. You guys are killing me. But my honest guess is they're probably just going to announce what those last two battle tomes are that we got from the preview. Or maybe at least what one of them is, hopefully. I don't know. Watch, it's going to be like the new update for the Age of Sigmar app, and it's just going to be like a total wet fart. Give me just a hot second. Just grabbing some details. Okay. Doug, do you think Bretonia will ever come back in AOS? No, at least not as we knew them before. How about that? Not for any particular reason. I don't know anything. It's more just... I don't know. I think that might be a good thing for them to highlight in the old world, because it already exists, but I don't know. But at the same time, I also feel bummed that we don't have a whole lot of human knightly orders. Everything's very like crazy high fantasy of demigryphs and stuff, and so I would like to have at least some faction, or maybe even a sub-faction that kind of alludes to them. I mean, obviously we have Flesh Eater cores, but at this point that's a meme. JPAT, oh, Flesh Eater cores, you mean? Yeah, exactly, yep. Hey Doug, do you think Khorne will get a book this year? The White Dwarfs are kind of the new rules they got. I have no clue. My assumption is if it got White Dwarf rules, then it's not on the pipeline in the immediate future. I mean, that's just an assumption, of course, but I don't know. Because every once in a while, they throw us a real curveball. I would love it if this particular, Adepticon event, they were like, and we've got Blades of Khorne coming out. Like, yeah, that's totally fine. Cool. I would take it. Trying to think of anything that I would be like just truly excited to see besides the Path to Glory thing. What would it be? I don't know. That's the thing, is I'm far too easy to please. I'm just like, oh yeah. Literally anything's coming out. Cool, I'm happy. Oh, sorry, I wasn't making fun of anybody. So you mentioned horse riders. Is there any other archetype you think should be added? Oh, interesting. Those are definitely my big ones. I like cavalry a lot. What else? That's a good question. I'm thinking right now. I could maybe see like a more traditional type of artillery style army, like a true cannon faction. Like imagine Free Guild if you could not make cannons battle line. I don't want that, but some way to like increase their unit allowances or something. We can get some of those Napoleonics nerds to show us how to play a war game. But that's an unpopular opinion because I know shooting is an issue right now, and it is an issue, period, but I feel like there's a difference between long strikes as a unit that has a gun that should really just be artillery, and like the equivalent of guardsmen using combined arms, as a form art. So, I mean, that's the difference, is like the problem with long strikes is they benefit from so many things and they're just good and they can be teleported and all the things that they want to do, whereas I feel like the concept of an artillery line is not is not the same thing that plagues AOS as a system right now in terms of shooting. What else would I like? I'm a big fan of like Automata. I'd love to see a Steam Automata army. The Clockwork Children of Grugni or something like that would be kind of cool. Let's see, for me, what else? I'm trying to think. I don't have a lot else. Actually, I'm very content with where the game's been at lately. Like, I know people are talking about wanting a new faction in the Chaos Dwarves. Would be super into that, 110%. I want like a good reason for them to be unique, though. You know, and obviously, when it comes to dwarf stuff, there's a lot of room. Seeing as how Games Workshop kind of kept the streams a bit narrow when it comes to what constitutes a Fire Slayer or Carriage and Overlords. Like they don't have a whole ton of crossover. Meaning there's design space. There's just room for all different kinds of dwarves. Is what I'm trying to say. And some of those crazy out there designs could be, you know, exactly the way we think of dwarves. Tolkien-esque, I guess. Shooting would be better in AOS if terrain had more impactful rules. Yeah. You're talking about the wrong guy. I don't claim to know a thing about game balance, but I would like some cool terrain. Okay, let's grab this little handle here. Sweet. Almost. We're getting there. Okay, let's see. To be honest, they could sneak in some new models for Cities of Sigmar in the form of artillery and maybe some variation on the theme of Dwemer Automata. Oh, like Skyrim has. I'd be here for that. I mean, you know, honestly, whenever it comes to these events, and I hope that you will join me in this, is this idea of like, I don't know. So many folks get upset after it reveals because it's like they didn't release what I wanted. It's like, you know, somebody's happy. Like they released it for somebody, so let's figure out who that's for. Be happy for, you know, for example, if Daughters of Cain get a cool new unit, I'm happy for them. Period. So it's somebody else has won. That's cool, but like, I also just approach them with an open hand. Like I'm not expecting anything. I'm not going to be disappointed if they don't release whatever I think would be a cool idea. Because knowing what we do about their production cycle, they decided almost 3 years ago that anything they decided they're going to launch today has already been planned, built. So yeah, it's all quite moot. Smata, why are zombie models only ever human in AOS? Because Games Workshop's cowards. No, it's no real reason. I mean, they've written before, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that other things have been raised. Let's see, did I already pull it out here? Let's see. Wildwood. Use you. Where's me Gorgruntuffer? Here we go. Let's see. Brent. Oh, hey, buddy. How you doing? I hope they invest more in current factions rather than adding new ones. Replace some old models, fill some smaller ones out. I wholeheartedly agree. Like, if they said, hey, listen, we're just going to really, like, expand, I don't know, pick one. Caradron Overlords, sure, cool, go for it. Real sad the Fire Slayer book came out and missed that grand epiphany y'all had, but I'd be happy about it. Because that's something to me, is I generally don't need new armies. You know, like, there's already so much room to explore with what's going on with these specific ones that we already have. I don't know. And I have never been one of those fans who just wants models. Everything's a model. And like, nah, I'm cool with the story stuff. Give me a good publication. We'll keep talking. Okay, let's see. How big is your Bonesplitterz army? The repetitive models were a slug for me. I think right now, as we speak, I sit at about... I think 1,300. I mean, I was going to buy Kragnos, but I explained earlier on the stream that I don't need to buy him anymore. Yeah, I'd say something like that. And yeah, I'll be honest, it's a bit repetitive, but the nice thing is for me is I really only have to learn like 4 war scrolls. And there's just a beauty in that. Hey Doug, I'm new to AOS. Do you think my Slaves to Darkness get a new battle tome soon? I have no reason to think that they will. Like, nothing's happened to make me think that they are next on the queue. So that's all I can say. I mean, I say it's all I can say. I really don't know anything else. Unfortunately, I wish. I think they need one with the changes that they made to the various factions since Nurgle. I think they need one to really give themselves a distinct personality. Because for the longest time, their thing has been, we work with everybody, and now they're like, we sort of do, like, we're buds, but we're not on their team. It's like, okay. Um, Birding forward. Gotta bounce. Get back to the old work grindstone, but thanks for always streaming. Oh, yeah, dude. Happily. Did I don't know that one. Brett Nelson, thanks for the perspective. Some people may prefer factions to be smaller and have less war scrolls. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I think those of us who like doing that just really enjoy being like contrarians like me. What's that? This faction's terrible? You know what? I'm gonna buy 10,000 boxes of it. Which is, generally speaking, how my hobby operates. Would you rather have a new faction be made for AOS or model updates for the existing range? If I could wave my magic wand, I would choose for Games Workshop to really nail down the factions they already have before adding new ones. Although I do want new ones in the future. I'm not just saying keep it like this for forever. But when you consider that one of their most original intellectual properties, which is the Skaven, when it comes to the fantasy setting, like stuff that has nothing to do with Tolkien or anything like that, it's just their own thing, is so criminally not underrepresented but undersupported in terms of some of their models. You know, were there when Reagan was president, it feels like. Not really, but you know what I mean. It's just old models. Sorry, I know I hurt a lot of your feelings, guys. I'm sorry. But it's true. Them old models. So, I don't know. I'd prefer that because they have so much stuff that like is already peak nostalgia bait, just like waiting there for them. And seeing as how they're a company built on fear of missing out as their business model, you'd think there'd be a great money opportunity there, but they see something I don't. I don't know. I assume. Maybe all the nostalgia bait powers have been redirected to the old world, though. Wish I could get Chaos Warriors in a separate box from the start collecting. Yeah, and then to do stuff like that where you're like, I don't know what you guys are thinking. This just made it hard to get. Like, I you know, as much as I loved the fact that they released a whole new starter set with starter models in there, I was like, oh yeah, this is terrific. Like, it gives you a reason, even if you already own Slaves to Darkness, to go buy this starter set. Never thinking like, oh, this is going to be the only way to get them. Kind of just seemed silly. I don't know much about them, but in 40k they have stratagems. Do you think AOS needs something like that? I would say that the equivalent for that is command abilities like heroic action. Not heroic actions. What am I thinking? Like we have Overwatch, we have rally, those kinds of things. So I personally don't want to see that, mainly because I really don't like it in 40k. They'll give you 40 stratagems and maybe a couple will be useful to you. It just becomes a memory clog. And then they can do stuff like release stratagems for your faction, but only in this little tiny book that they don't keep around in stock. They've done it a bunch of times. Not gonna hyperbole there, but I don't know. I've tried multiple times getting into 40k, and it just doesn't work. The complication, the searching for rules everywhere. I don't know. I'm always up for more command abilities, though, in the vein of what we were talking about. Maybe attackers in this game gain this new command ability they can use in the combat phase. That kind of stuff I'm here for. No, after 24 years of 40k, I really hope AOS doesn't go down a 40k path, for sure. Do you use contrast paints much, Doug? Well, almost the entirety of these guys has been contrast paints. Generally, yes. I like them. I like using contrast paints to block out the colors, and then I can go back with a more detailed approach and really, really pick them out. Like, obviously I'm painting brown over green. It's not going to look great, but after a wash and going back over and picking out the details and the highlights and stuff like that, it'll look great. So I kind of just use it for my own visual reference so I don't lose detail. Sorry. But yeah, I use them quite a bit. My favorite method of painting at the moment is just a base of contrast paints and then just find some good colors to highlight it with. And because contrast base plus a highlight layer looks pretty dang good. As a 40k player, it super bogs down the game too. Check the book, interpret the wording, make sure it hasn't been FAQ'd. Yep, exactly. Yeah, there was a point in time where I got jealous of 40k players for getting all the time in the sun, and now I'm like, never mind. That's a living hell of just constant updates with nary an end in sight. Updates for 40k will end on James Worksop's grave. Ba. 40k is pure rules bloat. I don't know enough about it. It just, for me, I had actually some 40k stuff. I was going to build an AdMech army. I had the stuff here, and I hadn't even opened a single box. And I just sat here with the codex for a while, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, I bought the model because the models were cool, and I'm just like staring at this thing like, there's so much going on in this book at every level. It's a lot. I was into the stratagem stuff when it first got revealed, though, like, because I like the idea, to give it credit, of saying, hey, here's the base entry, and here's a lever you can pull to make various factions and sub-factions feel a particular way. And, like, in theory, that's a really cool thing. I liked it in a lot of the earlier books, but then it just... the more you keep adding stuff, it just got to be a lot. Now I'm just taking some the contrast base from a pot and going and cleaning up stuff. Just a few details so we can get this snake painted easily. Don't think there's a lot of things we need to clean up on these guys. I don't mind if they look a little dirty. They are orcs. And despite the current rules bloat, 7th edition 40k was way worse. See, that is an era of 40k that I was a part of. And I do remember that. I remember... Though the only thing that I liked that nobody else seemed to is I really enjoyed the challenge system, but at the time I was a Chaos Space Marine player, so anytime I could just have a random dude challenge a hero level monster or hero level boss to a fight and win, I was just like, oh yeah, this is what I'm here for. But hindsight being 2020 has revealed it's really not a great system. Because it did slow the whole game down to a crawl. When any unit that I had in combat had to make a challenge, so then there had to be a whole separate fight for the boss. There's a lot going on. Did pretty good on that one. Without trying to be me. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Warren Lynch. Who would you expect to be more devious and sneaky, the Gloomspite Gits or the Cruel Boys? Man. I want the Gloomspite Gits to be the sneaky ones, if I'm truthful here. They're just my fave. They're mean, they're nasty, they cause all kinds of pandemonium. And that's the thing. It's kind of why I was so dubious on the Cruel Boys when they came out, because it's like I just felt like their role was already fulfilled. It was like, Between that and the models not really gripping me, I was pretty lukewarm. Which I'm not really used to. Normally I'm like the everything is awesome guy, and I was just this one release and I was just like, I'm not feeling it. But, I'm not going to be in love with everything. I know so many people love the Cruel Boys. Now, I actually painted the bone with Xandri dust, but I'm going over with a little bit of the skeleton horde just to pick out some of the places where paint may have missed, and then I went over it with Gore Grunta. Because this is my favorite thing about contrast paints is the skeleton horde is not strong enough to cover up the Gore Grunta, so it'll just pool out a little darkness and depth and be totally fine. Let's see, one strap I missed here. Without trying to be me, I started 40k in 2nd edition, and now I hate what the game has become. I mean, that's not an uncommon thought, I mean, I've seen a lot of people say Lord of the Rings has become what they remember the best parts of 40k being, meaning smaller model choice, model count, armies, that kind of stuff. I don't know much about Lord of the Rings, to be perfectly honest with you, but my point is I've heard similar sentiments. Hot take, Gloomspites should have been in Gloomspite Gits. I am either... Here's how I would do it, okay? Put Cruel Boys and Iron Jaws in one army. Bring the Bonesplitterz in with the Gloomspite Gits, specifically the Spider Fang. I don't know. That's the best I can do. And yes, we're gonna dirty up some people's teeth here. That's okay. After the wash, we'll go over with your sharp debone, clean it all up. Closed mouth, closed mouth. You can tell I really liked guys with closed mouths. Sweet. So that is what? Flesh Terror's red. Let's grab Blood Angel's red, and then we're going to start the process with most of these guys of getting them washed, and then we'll start building color back up. Warren Lynch, is it me, or is the new character in the Stormcast Eternals, the woman with the angel wings, a bit of nothing character? Does she even feature in the stories yet? No, I don't understand what's going on there, because you're absolutely right. She has like no appearance, which is a shame, because she looks like she should be the poster woman of the entire edition, but sadly we got nothing yet. Is it Arostra? Is that her name? Indrasta, that's what it was, right? Yeah, something like that. Lore master here. Gloomspite's ally with Bonesplitterz from so let's see, Gloomspite's ally with Bonesplitterz. Yeah, I'm cool with it. I mean, just aesthetically, like them and the Spider Fang have so many visual elements that work. And you know, how cool would it be if they came out with an Allegiance, you know, in a supplement or something that was like, hey, you can play these two things together because they look like they should be together, and call it this army, you know? Army of the First Wall. And what a fun way to build cross promotion between your model lines and that kind of thing. Oh yeah, Games Workshop, that was a free idea. I won't ask you to send the check this time. Hey, Biomancer, what's up? Her origin is in the Kragnos book. Yeah. So she does have story, but it's more like it looks like she was pitted to be the main character that we're following through this section of the story arc, and she just, because they haven't released any real narrative stuff going forward with AOS, it kind of just seems like, and she's here, and you're like, okay, cool. And there's a girl on the team, and you're like, okay, well, it's not the 90s, it's not really exciting anymore. We can do better than that. Does she have a story? Only kind of. Okay. Go ahead and throw your questions in there. I'll be back in the chat in just a second. I'm just trying not to totally destroy this guy's hairdo. Or his skin, rather, painting his hairdo. Cool. I like him. Just glad I can make an all squig army and have fun with it. Absolutely. That's, man, how cool would it be to have squigs and pigs? That's just the name of the list. The squigs and pigs list. I'm here for it. I don't know what that would necessarily be good at, but it sounds like it would be really good at having fun. Let's see, where are you? Okay. Does Zinch also have some reference with the Bad Moon? None that I know of. Does anybody else know of a connection? I have never heard of a connection between the two in Age of Sigmar. I know it confounds him, and he wants to, like, learn about it, but so does everybody else, because nobody gets it. But Gratz, apparently. A cavalry-ish shock attack army, I reckon? Probably, yeah. David, great timing. Hobby video while I build some lead belchers. Nice. Well, yeah, welcome to the party, pal. We are just working on some various shenaniganery. Doesn't mention anything in the Gloomspite Battle Tome. Yeah, I didn't think so. I can't say I've ever heard of any type of connection or whatever. I'm gonna throw down some base colors for these snakes. Definitely just grabbed that wet contrast paint. That was real smart. Don't worry, friends. I'm a professional. Bounders and bacon, I like it. Any ideas for Malarian or Tyrian elves? I mean, we have seen Teclises and Marathis, but nothing about the other two. You are correct. We don't know a single thing. How would I structure them? I don't know, man. For Malarian, I really feel like it would be cool if it was almost... I don't know how much you guys are familiar with 40k lore, but the Night Lords, when they were the good guys back in the day, they almost kind of operate like different gangs that just have to work together and like fight for resources and requisition stuff. And I just feel like that would be such a thing, like the cunning rise to the top in Malarian's army. Not necessarily the strongest, but the smartest, the ones who play the long game. Yeah. Oh, and Geo, you did the cross promo before. It was Magakin and Clan Pestilence. I mean, you still can. That exists. But yeah, not in the same quite way. Although, to be honest, the Clan Rats, I think they're still good in a Magakin army because... Not Clan Rats, the Plague Monks. Because they aren't there for buffs. They're there to be a whole bunch of bodies with a bucket of attacks. And you know, they still do that. They are a big pile of nope that gets to sit on an objective. Aren't the Lumineth Realm Lords based on elements? Yeah. I don't see anything that refutes that. Yes, they are. Sort of. So there is a main Lumineth Realm Lord army, and then there are special, like, you know, if it's medical stuff, we would call them specializations, where you just study a particular field for quite a while, and those separate temples are what give the elemental theme. So there are like the Vanari, the Dawn Riders. They don't belong to any particular temple, but the minute you start going outside that, that's where you get bull boys who look like mountains and revere them. Then you have wind folk who ask you what the fox says, that kind of thing. So it's when you move out of that immediate circle that things get weird. So as far as what I would like to see next, well, first of all, I think Lumineth are fine for a while. Like, I think we can move along into some other factions. That's an opinion. But as far as stuff I'd like to see eventually, I would love to see fire elves. Oh my god, that would be amazing. I'm here for fire elves. Just picking out these last little bits that I thought were part of the snake, but turns out they weren't. Okay, what's next? Let's see. Oh, I know. Okay, I gotta grab some form of tan. You will do. XV88. Some of the spears and stuff have straps, but I didn't want to do them as brown because it wouldn't show up over the wildwood. So, we'll grab some base paint of tan, and I'm only going to do the base paint, and then we'll go over it with our grunge wash, and then we can build up a lighter color after that. That is a plan anyway. Let's grab a detail brush. Cool. Okay. I could see. Oh yeah, the main pirate base. That'd be cool. Would be super into that for sure. Cool. Again, we're just picking out places where there is some last little bits of rope and junk. But yeah, I would love to see them as reimagined as pirates. I think that could be a ton of fun. If nothing else, I don't want the seas to become a safe place. You know, like we have the Deepkin out and about, but there's not a lot of sea-based enemies outside of the very specific stories that we get from the Deepkin battle tome, like Skaven making submarines and stuff like this, like ridiculous stuff that I love and I'm here for. But there's not a lot of like basic threat, you know? I'd love to see that. Or at least bring us more Scourge privateers for that reason. Maybe that's the answer. Let's see. Don't have a ton to talk about. They haven't really dropped a good news bomb on us lately, and whilst I do have let's see, videos coming out this week. We'll talk about that. I got a video for almost every single faction, or not faction, Grand Alliance. Ooh. Big difference there. So I have a Blades of Corn lore. I have Blades of Corn, Daughters of Cain. I thought there was more. Soulblight Gravelords went out today, and what was the other one? Oh, Sons of Behemoth. Yes, that's what it was. And I'm pretty happy for all of them. Again, just picking out different types of straps and fabrics. As a little side note, I just finished some Plague Marines. Need to base them, but that's somewhat easy. Cleaning up the pile of shame. Good on ya. That's kind of why I turned the camera on this afternoon. I was like, I need to paint, and you know what? I might as well hang out with some cool people while I do it. It's not that I have a colossal mountain of shame. It's more just that, like, I just haven't been making very good progress on it lately. Been kind of... Well, I was helping Jack out with the fundraiser thing, which thank you to everybody who participated. That means the world to me. He's doing good. But yeah, beyond that, I was just like, man, I just don't have a lot that I want to work on. I've been kind of starting a project, working on it for 2 weeks, 2 days or so, and then just kind of losing interest. But this stuff with the Bonesplitterz, after actually taking it out and seeing what it does on the table, like we talked about earlier, I gotta say I was pretty happy. The more boys were a bit disappointing, but the boars and stuff I was just very, very, very happy with. And afterwards we sat and talked. So I ran them in this game as Drakfoot, but could already tell I was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna run them as that later on. Okay, I'm looking at these guys, trying to figure out what else I need to do before we jump into the Grime Wash. I'm not seeing a whole lot. Just the hooves, really. I was thinking about getting a Colossal Squig and converting it with a load of grots riding it. Oh, okay. Like having them ride the back of them. That'd be fun. Now we're just blackening the hooves of our little piggies. I need to come up with a stand-in for a rogue idol. Like one that is decidedly a rogue idol, but I don't really care for the Forge World one. And I would love to get a different option in there. Does anybody know of a good rogue idol replacement? Honestly, what I would love, here's my ideal vision of it. I would love a giant boar made out of rocks. That, to me, would be the ideal vision of beauty. Because a lot of the stuff for Bonesplitterz is all based around boars. Like they have a spell, it's called the Curse of the Wereboar and all these kinds of things, and they ride boars, they don't eat them as much anyway. And I would just love an army that represents that. but I don't know. I did a very half-hearted look, to be honest, online, and I couldn't find anyone selling giant rock boar. Question for the chat: do we know what the next faction getting a White Dwarf update is? I have not heard anything past Corn. I'm kind of curious. See you later, buddy. Have yourself a wonderful evening. KO. Okay. That could be cool. I'm trying to think of what I would want that to be like. Them and like the Daughters of Cain are both factions that people ask me about, and I'm like, man, you know, you just got to go find someone who plays those armies. I don't know a dang thing. I don't know what they're good at, bad at, don't know what they need. Because I feel like sometimes I feel like the KO play just a wildly different experience of Age of Sigmar than any other faction, because they're just shooting and mobility. And there are other factions that can do mobility better, and there are other factions that can shoot better, but that's their thing. And you're like, well, okay. Sideline Manfred just... Oh, Manfred arrived? Nice. Such a fun model. Okay, 2 more sets of hooves. They were great before everyone had similar abilities. Yeah, I could see that. I would love to see them do more internal kit bashing. Like, there's so many cool bits in the KO sprue. I mean, because I built the models, I painted, I just never really played as them. There's so many cool bits that if they tried to do the same thing they did with, say, Flesh Eater Courts, where you like internally kit bash to get specific heroes, units, i.e. that kind of stuff, I think it could be really stinking cool. It just now occurred to me, I didn't paint the tongues of the pigs while I was in there doing that, so that's the next. Sort of lost some uniqueness, you know, and that's a shame, because, you know, like I said before, I want every faction to like be a unique thing. They should all feel very different, and when that is lost, it sucks. I imagine that's how Ossiarch Bone Reapers felt when everybody got to do a lot of the stuff that they could do. Hey, good souls. Hey, it's Betsy. It's been a bit, man. How you doing? We are just chilling out, painting up some biggest. We're just throwing down those initial layers so we're not worried too much about detail. And then everything will dry, and then we can go over it with the streaking grime wash like we did for everything else, and then we can go back and build up some more color where it is needed and or appropriate. Let's see. I'm loving how many extra bits and bobs come with the ogre kits. Lots of decoration. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Nikki orcs are best orcs. Bonesplitterz for the win. Well, thank you, Caleb. I'm trying my best. I'm excited to use them. I'm actually... This unit specifically, so I played this in my game this weekend as a 10-man unit of basic boar boys. And I have to say, the staying power of 10 of these guys is pretty dope. I don't know how well it'll do, like, when I'm getting punched in the face by, you know, some broken AF thing that's like 8d6 mortal wounds or whatever, but I don't know. They didn't melt nearly as fast as I expected them to. You know what? It just occurred to me some of these bodies have outfits that I have not painted yet. Most of them are pretty much naked. Some of them are wearing like Tarzan style garb. Oh, just these two. Okay, cool. We can deal with that. Tell you what, let's paint them up. We'll paint them up instead of doing contrast over contrast. Robert, hey Doug, finally got a chance to join the hobby hangout. Nice looking. Bonesplitterz, painting a chimera myself. Well, thank you so much for the kind words, and I'm glad to hear you're painting a chimera. How excited are you for your chimera's new rules, my man? Well, I'm assuming you're doing Beast of Chaos. That's not necessarily true, but you know what I mean. They seem really fun. Okay, I have a great steampunk aesthetic. Could not agree more. They do look great. This is basically like a shred of animal scales or a scaly hide or something like that that they're wearing as a I don't know. It's sort of like a leotard. Looking like Andre the Giant over here. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to do the exact same. The Chimeras for Warcry. Oh, it's even better. I knew I liked you. I love Warcry. It's still number one for me in terms of GW games. After my wife and I get back from this trip we're taking this weekend, sadly we're not going to Adepticon, but once we get back from that, I think she wants to learn how to play Warcry, which I'm excited about. She gets more and more open to gaming every couple of months. Not for any particular reason. That's not like she's like, oh, I don't want to hang out with you nerds. It's more just they seem very overwhelming to her. And so the more games that we're exposed to through me or my friends, Jeremy and Martha, like it just helps, I think, bring down the intensity level a bit. But yeah. Let's see. Well, at this point, I am kind of stuck. I need the contrast stuff to dry a bit more before I can really do anything else. After this step, I'm going to throw down the, the grime wash and wipe it all away. And I think at that point, I'll try and pause to make sure that I can paint along. You guys can see how the finished product comes together. But we got 10 orc boar boys. I've been going for hour and a half. My voice is a little tired. I'm gonna go ahead and hop off now, but look forward to hanging out with you guys this week. I got 3 more awesome videos in the hope to see you guys in the comments, and we're gonna have ourselves a grand old time. So I'll see you all later. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming.